G'day everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Melbourne Punters Show, proudly brought to you by our friend Sambo. Much love to you, Sambo. We love haters on this show. So,
who's Sambo?
Sambo's a regular emailer into the Sydney show, and
right.
He said some.
I haven't seen the Sydney show yet. So
he said some comments that probably weren't terribly inaccurate, but
give me a bit.
No, I'm not sure if I'm Elmer Fudd or Porky Pig, but either Sam, I don't mind. I'm happy with either.
Right,
what did he say? What did he say? We don't want to keep.
I think you referred to you and Dan as homeless. Homeless people.
I've got a home, Sam. It's probably bigger and better than yours, but we don't know. My mortgage maybe is bigger and better too, but I have got a home. I can confirm that.
The thing with Sambo is, from my reading of it over the years, I think Sambo spends a fair bit of time on parole or in and out of jail,
right?
That sort of thing. So, like, he's a fairly tough bugger. So, like, let's not hang him. He's okay.
I'm just whining in the fact that I've got a bigger and better home than he has.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who knows what?
But good on you. That's what we do.
Yeah, we do love haters on this show, so much love to you, Sambo. As usual,
I also want to say to Sambo, if the visual does put you off, Sambo, there's always Punters Show radio for you. Saturday morning. Over an hour, Brett Zarafran. You don't have to look at any of us. You can just listen.
As usual, I'm joined by the man with all the form around Malaguira, and Darren Potter, and back from a week on the water walker is Racetrack Ralphie.
Now what happened? I leave for 1 week, and we burst out of the blocks for our first cup, 2 or 3, and we're angry and we're bitter and we're throwing punches and we're arguing. And I clicked last week, and the first 15 minutes was a love fest for Gator. What happened? Never complain, never explain. What happened?
Well, to Gator's credit, he handled it well, and he left me with no choice because I was petulant and I had to cop to it. So.
Did you notice though? This is we all have different things and experiences in our life. Did you notice? I did leave myself a little bit of room, saying we're just assuming that Gator was talking about us.
No, you were very clever. I fell in and whatever.
But what I found really funny was because I was ready to say, be irrational like a normal man, and then you've just sort of launched off the side screen, Michael Holding at the MCG, so I thought, I've got to play the voice of reason here. This is right.
Well, the trouble with me, Ralph, is I get particularly upset if I think someone's having a go at our punters.
Yes.
And like today, when we get to it, which we're going to discuss in part 2 about the protest, I couldn't care less about the protest. I've got a theory on protest that I'll discuss when we get to that point. But I would have been happy just to sit and listen to you guys talk about it. However, I listened to Terry Bailey on the radio yesterday, and Terry has got me rolled right up because I feel that he's having a go at some really smart, intelligent people that are, part of our audience and customers of ours. And I think what Terry's comments were ill-advised. They were stupid. They've done irreparable harm to racing, and a lot of the people that would have heard him would say, "Up yours, Mr. Bailey. I'm going to go and bet on the footy."
And you're going to address that later. Just there.
Yeah,
that's in part 2.
That was an entree.
If that's an entree, and incidentally, for those who don't like the language that we've been using lately, can I assure you there will be no swearing this week?
No, there'll be no swearing this week. Boys, but before we get to, we'll whip through Saturdays a little bit later in part 1, and then we'll discuss the protest and whatnot in part 2. But let's cast our mind back to Sandown last Wednesday. It was a tricky track, and again another protest that was let's call it thought-provoking, because it just seems to me, I don't know whether Craig Williams has got the stewards bluffed or what's going on, but on the same day they had Brent Avdulla in the stewards room up in Sydney, and he put on a clinic there, and we all know what Nicole's like. He's very laid back, pretty quiet, happy-go-lucky, and he came in against Craig Williams, and basically the ref had to step in and stop the fight.
Well, before we get on to that, you wanted to talk about the track, Ralphie. What was your...
We've had a pretty mild summer, haven't we?
Well, this is the first... it's 38 degrees down here today or something. This is the first hot day we've had in 3 weeks. Real hot day.
Generally, the weather's been pretty good.
Yeah, it's been dry.
How could that track possibly have presented as poorly as it did? And you're always going to be fair here and try not to be personal when we're talking anything public, and this is public. Now, Tim Bailey has a track record of a decade of excellence at that track. So something tells me there's something absolutely critically wrong with the joint. For now, it to be all of a sudden, they went 4 meetings at Lakeside, and this was, I think, the 4th or the 3rd
meeting
at Hillside. It was Hillside, Lakeside, Hillside. and the fence was poison. Half the reason that, the last race, we'll get to that, I think it killed you too, didn't it? Was it on Wareys? Tenacious, yep. And for it to have, on pretty mild weather, a little bit of rain in the morning, poison fence, that was just so bad. And more to the point, it didn't reflect the readings that were given out in the morning.
Yeah.
And so we always say as punters, which is half the block from Derby Day, which we're using as an outlier, but no surprises.
Yeah.
So if we hear, well, the outside's been renovated or the inside's been renovated, we don't care. Just tell us the information so we can work it out in our head. That track was horrible, and let me ask Mr. Bailey and everyone else. Now, Terry Bailey, by the way, wasn't on the day, and we'll probably, I will get on that protest. But why are the stewards not involved with track preparation if they're fitting, or why don't they just completely walk away from it? One of the two, because at the moment it's under their jurisdiction.
Yeah.
It's under Greg Carpenter's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, I don't listen to any radio anymore because I'm sick of it all. But I just want to turn up and see that's going to be fair. Now, that was horrible. Why?
Well, I think that the 14 metre rail position is one that they should do away with on the hillside track, because it gets them too close to that outside section where they run a lot of trials.
Yes.
And so a lot of horses are going over the outside section, and particularly, over some of that's quite firm ground. And as soon as then you've got no rain in the lead up to the meeting, so you've got irrigation applied. Then you've got race day, a small amount of race day rain, which then the combination of those things completely compromises the fence, and you've got that harder ground out wide. So that's to me what happened. So I just think that this whole problem will go away if they stop using that really wide position on the hillside track. So, I mean, I actually, because I've come from Sydney, I've grown up on Randwick, I don't mind how Sandown plays, whether it's lakeside, they're different. Each rail position is different, and the lakeside is different to the hillside, right? But I think they're pretty consistent. The one that falls to pieces is the really wide position on the hillside tracks, and I think they should stop using it. And I think it's because they run the trials out there, and you've got a section of track that's
now, sorry, buddy, but we all watch the trials on the Melbourne Racing Club, and it's a good service. Yes. I've never seen trials there this year. So maybe
like the recent 2-year-old trials that they had there, the official ones, they were sort of the back straight, and they come around the side. Okay. And they in the run on, they were coming into the home straight outside the markers.
It could be machinery, it could be whatever. But as you say, either put it out of play or don't tell people that it's we're expecting the fence, because it just gave away so quickly. 2 weeks earlier, when the track was borderline heavy, but heavy from the 800. This really came up in Vince's figures. But the back straight up the top was rock hard. So they've got to get this right. And if you want to do a conspiracy theory, looks like a few more midweekers are going to go to Kremlin.com Park, because that's obviously playing all right.
Well, maybe it's still early days in the new management strategy that they've got out there, where it's not lakeside, hillside, like where they're just going to go, right, we're going to wear one out for 4 meetings, and then we'll give it 6 weeks off, and then we'll use the other one in the meantime. So whether they still need to tinker with that a little bit to get this right.
Well, we're back to the hillside tomorrow, and they're into the 3 metre position, which I think will play relatively okay, but it will be an advantage to be off the rails again. And as the day progresses, they'll be getting further and further off the rail, and those.
But there'll be no surprise, and that's okay.
Yeah. But I'm saying in the 3 metre position, it won't be a repeat of last week,
exactly.
Because it's too hard to get to those real outside lanes that are particularly beneficial. So
before we get to Flemington, Friday night Moonee Valley.
Yep.
Now that wasn't why I wasn't here last week, but I had a Caulfield the week before, and when we all have good and bad runs, when we have a bad run, the self-doubt police really gets you. So I'm on Hawksy's thing that in the 9:55 Taboo was it? Fair dinkum. Yeah, that just didn't put in and everything. It's not going to be good.
No.
I'm at a 40th, and just as the comedian starts, the distance race starts, and I just had this, the clarity that this was Swankadelic's race. I've had a bad run. All of a sudden I go, this is just Christmas. So I had the beautiful position because my wife was sitting opposite me with the comedian there, so she had to turn her back, which meant I could actually watch it on the phone. Laughing on. The bloke was actually fantastic, but But and then when it wins at $13, it is. I laugh a lot harder at the rest of it.
Yes.
Everything works. So anyway, it's funny how one race can bring your confidence back.
Yeah, well, I marked Psychedelic about $6, and even though I left it off our betting plan for Friday night, a lot of our subscribers backed it, so I was happy to see it win. I can promise my subscribers that Sabug will never appear on a betting plan of mine again.
What about while it's got figs? Because it needs gelding as well.
I mean, its last 4 runs have been alright. I mean, what annoys me is that there was a big layer out there for Sabug a long time before that race started. They knew something wasn't right with that horse, and I haven't even read the steward's report because I doubt any questions were asked. So maybe it was. It just annoys me when the writing's on the wall in betting, and then and the horse runs like that. I find that distasteful.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're going to talk about the protest last Wednesday. I mean, I can talk about my view on protest now because this is relevant to what we're going to talk about in part 2. But my view on protest is quite a few years ago, I was having a bad run. I had a massive bet on Norzita in a 3-year-old fillies race. She won the race by a narrow margin over Longport, and in one of the most bizarre protest hearings I've ever seen, they overturned the decision and gave it to Longport. And I was filthy for about 3 months, and it affected me. And about 3 months after that, or a bit after that, I backed a Scream Machine in a 2,000 metre race in Sydney, and it was beaten by a Chris Waller horse, started with K, I can't remember the name of the horse. Kathy O'Hara rode Scream Machine. She was sort of almost coerced into making a protest, and she protested over interference at the 300 metres after the start, which was negligible. It was nothing in it. The stewards then protested on her behalf about interference in the straight, which to me again was completely negligible, and somehow the stewards upheld that protest. And then there was another one a week later, and in the 2 protests that I got that I didn't expect, it was virtually the same result that I had missed out on Norzita a few months before. And I promised myself from that time on I'd never let a protest get to me again, and I haven't. I never have. I often get them wrong. I don't think about it. As it turned out last week, I had small bets on both horses in the protest at Sandown, so I didn't really care what the result was. And my opinion was that Bascule's a mongrel of a horse. He ran in of his own accord, and High Church followed him.
Yeah,
they barely touched. It was. I find it extraordinary that they upheld that protest, but like I said, I don't really care.
The only thing that, I thought...
At least the stewards didn't come out and say it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. The other thing is, I expected them to throw it out, and the only real surprise that I got out of it was Nick Williams taking to Twitter after that saying, right decision.
No, in fairness, we'd like to be fair. That's Nick and...
Oh, it was Nick's horse that got turned over, so that's very gracious of Nick to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say that... and I strapped the horse for Lloyd when I was a kid. This is how far back ago, by the way. I'm just sort of setting it up. But they play the sportsmanship card. Yeah. I don't think anyone in any way could not say that they don't. They did the same to Seamoon, and we'll get to that later.
Well, good karma come around because they won the next race anyway, didn't they? So
the stable's going very well. At the point, I think there's
also the Divan.
Yeah, I think the emerging ones are about to emerge.
The only thing about Divan is why I didn't back it each way. I'll never know. 30-minute gaps, guys. During the week, I reckon they're working an absolute treat. It would have been a shambles on Saturday if they'd had 30-minute gaps. And the other thing with Saturday was, even though we went back to the 35 and 40-minute gaps, I counted 7 race clashes during the day.
Clashes of what? Who? Where?
Like,
obscure things.
Yeah, like... But the thing is...
Sydney and Melbourne, I was able to bet in Sydney all day on Saturday. I was only betting 3 races as it turned out, but... the reason I put that on the agenda, Juppy, is I just want to say hallelujah. Well done to everyone involved that we can now put it behind us. I think the 30-minute gaps in the other 6 days is great.
Yeah.
They'll sort it out. It's good that we've got a good 6-month trial of it. If we can get Sydney and Melbourne operating on 15-minute intervals, fantastic. And Saturday, I turned over a substantial amount of money on the Sydney card, whereas for the last 2 weeks I haven't been able to bet at all. So if there's a lot of people like me, I don't know if there are, I think it's good for racing that people can bet on both Sydney and Melbourne if they want to.
Only in racing can the structures be so inept that when it's brought in the bleeding obvious, are we reduced, people like us reduced to say, well done for just getting it to the damn maximum of logic.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm so relieved. I want to go and give him a hug, you know, like, for doing something that was just so obvious.
For the tab to send out press releases, and I think the Punter Show is still the only area where people actually just give their opinions, because it's either your tab aligned or your corporate aligned, and we're all compromised in commercial media, and we're not in commercial media here. But for the tab to send out, well, look, we're going to put it on Sky 2 as a gesture.
Yeah.
Why people are betting there? Why is people even charging? Why are there so many meetings on in the first place? The reason is you want people who walk in to have a bet on Caulfield or Randwick to then lose money quicker on Glen Ennis and Bowraville. I mean, that's the only reason. You just want it to make it like a game. It's no one wants meetings every 3 minutes. And I was doing the thing on the remote on Saturday, doing a bit of couch, watching 5 on 9, and I was just going, honestly, does anyone here care about racing?
The thing that changed a while back was when they made all those, they were all non-tabs in New South Wales, a lot of those Saturday meetings. They made an extra one of them a tab meeting, so Queensland said, well, we've got a stack of non-tabs, we'll make another one of them a tab meeting. And all of a sudden now we've got this huge cluttered clock with meetings that, let's face it, put them on Sky 2 and leave them there, give everyone Sky 2, and the people that want to find them will find it. But the majority of people on a Saturday definitely want to watch Melbourne, Sydney, and they may have some interest in Adelaide and Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane, if they're sort of from those states.
And Piglet's just tweeted, what's his name? Who emailed the Punter Show?
Sambo.
Oh, Sam, I thought it was Piglet. He said we have to get on with it. So
Can I just say, before we move off the 30-minute gaps, I just want to say the only disappointment for me is that we didn't get to Australian Guineas, Rammed Guineas Day, because what I was going to suggest was that we split screen them, have them jump on the same trigger, so they jump at identically the same time, and the corporates could have put over a market
for
with both fields
race.
combined, one race.
Lovely.
That would have been awesome, wouldn't it?
Innovation.
There is innovation.
They would have been crossing the line. This could have collided, you know what I mean, at the finish post. It would have been,
And the thing is, there would have been a big field for everyone to bet in.
Yep.
What we'd have? We'd have a 36-horse field or something?
Well, the tab, like, we wouldn't have been able to have a tote pool on it, but we could, all the corporates could have bet on it. You put one big field and you just start them at exactly the same time, and then you pay out on whoever passes their respective finishing post first, and then we can divide the prize money up that way. So
with a surprise hurdle as well, just for the sake of it.
Well, it's not a silly idea having a Group 1 race at 1,600 metres for 3-year-olds on the same day, is it? That's not silly, is it?
But the people who, do you notice, I saw Troy Corson, who's a good man, I like, but he said, how ridiculous is it? Because, it should be, we as punters don't care less. We couldn't care less. We don't want championships and anything like that. We just, is this race of interest to us? Can we make some money?
That's
yes
it.
or no?
I agree with that totally, but I also can see how it's just ludicrous to have those two races at the same time. I mean, we might as well have the Blue Diamond and the Golden Slip on the same day. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
But how does that help readers?
Hashtag.
Anyway.
Quick whip through a Flemington boys. Race 1 was won by All Cerise. That was, you found that one, Potts?
Yeah, she was easy to find.
Master ride, Melon.
Yeah,
good ride. Well done. I did also find Blendwell there, and I would have been pleased if she could have.
Yeah, lobbed as well.
I mean, she cheated into it a little bit, but she's a mare that's capable of winning one of these races on a Saturday.
Dig and Pony 1 run short?
Yep. I mean, they all sort of ran. There's a bunch finished. I mean, they're just stock standard mares, meat and potatoes, whatever.
Race 2 was the Talander, and by the look of it, we have a reasonably handy 2-year-old there. And there was a scratching from the race that had a big spruik, and it went to Bendigo today. And like, I love the caller, Terry Bailey. He's a good mate of mine, but I was listening to it on the radio. I thought it was home, but
they ended up running third, didn't
they? The horse's name is
Overstep.
I think I'd hate to go in Mark Lambourne territory here because I'm not good enough. But if there's one sort of little bit on the radar, and if you did your money at Bendigo today, you're probably thinking this. This was so fast at Cranbourne in between the 800 and the 600 and 200 on Yetz's clock. You really see how fast it went, and particularly 600 and 400. Sometimes it's either black caviar, or that's cooked it and good luck.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not being a smart aleck afterwards, but I'm just saying it's something to almost be wary of, because if they can't relax and hold themselves together and go that quickly, then sometimes that's it for the prep, and that's its best, and it's probably what happened today.
And if you see a horse like that in a race like that, Flemington, there was sufficient scratchings for it to get a start in that race on Saturday, I think.
Yeah.
there was a reason that he didn't go around Saturday and he went to the easier race.
Very good point.
So when you see horses like that in the provincials, you've always got to be. I mean, I've fallen for them in the past. So the only thing about that 2-year-old race is there wasn't many horses that come down the outside, and obviously the outside was faster, and they dominated the race. I found Conscious in that race, and would have been delighted if she could have won. And I'm filthy on myself for not having a place bet on her because I marked at $6 and she paid $8 the place. But I think both her and Weatherly are nice horses.
Last time I was here, I mentioned about when we discussed about the past the post vision.
Yep.
Do yourself a favour, get Weatherly from Caulfield. Now he missed the start,
Yep.
and it was such a murderous speed that he avoided having to use the energy there. So that's one thing you had to try and weigh up if you were going to back him. But have a look at past the post there, because 100 metres past the post, he was clearly in front.
Yeah, he was.
Which is a great sign, particularly for
Yeah.
2-year-olds. Great sign.
Yeah, and he was the reason he drifted on Saturday and got to a very good price was that format of that race that you're talking about at Caulfield's been deplorable. I think there's been 7 other horses run out of it, and not one of them has finished within 4 lengths of the winner.
Do you think that's why he drifted?
Yeah, because of the like I said, there's 7 horses run out of that race, and they have not got close, not one of them. So, whereas I think I sort of priced him on Saturday more off his what he'd done in the jump out, and the talent he showed. And there's the Caulfield thing was he was really not really a participant in the race. He sort of just showed he showed that he had some talent, I suppose.
Yeah.
In a terrible race,
But
and then Flemington was good for him. He got room. He could do he could just get into his action. Whereas Caulfield was terrible for him.
No, but what I'm saying, maybe cause and effect. The reason the form's been so bad is because all those horses on pace cooked themselves. They went so hard, whereas he avoided that.
Yeah, there's a bit of that.
That means he can sort of elevate out.
I think it's one of Mark Lamborn's pearls that when you see a run like his at Caulfield, it's a black mark against the race. His run in the circumstances, the fact that he was in front, 50 or 100 yards past the post, tells you that race is no good. So, anyway.
Race 3 was won by Stamina. She was pretty impressive.
She was just too good.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going beautifully. She's a mare that travels really well. She's fast, and if she keeps running into mares like that, she'll just keep winning. But at some point, they're going to have to step her up. So.